we can go right ahead and talk about one of my favorite players in the NBA. I'm a very huge fan, very big fan of Scottie Barnes. He was on my fantasy team for basketball. He was demon, and a demon in a good way. Like he was putting up stats after stats after stats. It was amazing. It was beautiful, and he was one of the biggest reasons why my team was really good in fantasy because he was one of those sleeper picks, and I picked him up, and I am so glad that I did because that was and it was unfortunate because that league that I was in, it ultimately ended up we ultimately ended up not taking it as seriously as we were in the beginning. I think it was like 10-1 at one point. Like I was on fire in that league. And he was one of the biggest reasons, and rightfully so. Scottie Barnes, he led the Raptors before he got injured. Unfortunately, before he got injured, he was leading the Raptors in every single statistical category that there is: points, rebounds, assists, steals. What other stats? Blocks. I don't know if he was leading in turnovers, but all of the good stats he was leading the Raptors in. It was great. He was a great player. He is a great player and is definitely going to be the face of the Raptors. And especially after this new contract that he signed, if if my phone can load. I don't want to look at a Charmin Ultra Soft commercial. Thank you. All right. So the Raptors, they fully committed on Scottie Barnes. They signed him to a 5-year contract extension, which would be worth up to $270 million. This, again, effectively makes him the most paid Toronto Raptor in the franchise's history, which is again, it's very impressive that someone so young is already going to be making this much money. He would be guaranteed $225 million as part of his deal, and that would rise to $270 million if he were to be named an All-NBA or an All-Defensive team. And he's already made an all-star team, so one of those outcomes is, it's entirely possible. And I was screaming it from the mountaintops when I wanted Scottie Barnes to be on the all-star team. I was screaming it from the mountaintops. He deserved it. He's been the best player on the Raptors. Well, the Raptors, they aren't in the biggest market and things like that. He deserved to be in the All-Star game, without a doubt. And I wish he should have been a starter. He should have been on the starting lineup, but I digress. So again, he averaged for the season, he averaged 19 points, almost 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists for Toronto last season. And unfortunately, the team went 25-57. But this is a good thing. This is this is the time where it's expected for them to lose. And the fact that they have somebody this talented on a losing roster, it's great. It's good news because this means that the Raptors, they're able to build around a player, this talented. And that's really their goal. They're going to build around Scottie Barnes, and since they are a losing team, they'll have higher slots in the draft. And the only problem really, I think, that Scottie Barnes and the Raptors might face in their careers, it might be, bringing stars over to Canada and bringing good talent over to Canada. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't, talented there are talented basketball players that that come from Canada. I mean, Jamal Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, just to name a few. So, but bringing in, it's really difficult to convince people and athletes oh, why don't you come over to Toronto, right? I'm sorry, I don't want to be that guy, but it's cold. It's really cold up there, and it's not really that. How do I say? I'm not even gonna make any kind of statement on that. But it might not be pleasing to a lot of people like just how cold it gets. And it's not as easy as encouraging people to come to Los Angeles or to come to Miami, because there's beaches there, it's good lifestyle, like there's a lot of fun that's going on over there, like, as and it's really difficult to it's a lot easier to convince people to go over to places that have those kind of environments, more so than it is to, like, for Toronto or like for other places. And not to mention the marketing like from the Raptors, it's not really that it's not that popular. Like, the last time that the Raptors were really, really popular was when Kawhi Leonard was on the roster, and after that, they haven't really gotten that good coverage. Now, Siakam was one of those players that didn't get enough coverage when he was on the Raptors, and he was a little bit underrated for a time, in my opinion. And now he's getting more recognition for being on the Pacers, and it might be because the team isn't as good as it's been previously, because even before Kawhi, there was Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, and they were pretty popular during the especially in 2017, when DeMar was having that MVP caliber season. So, the it's maybe the marketing, like, for Toronto isn't that bad, but I mean, it's really I think it's a little bit more difficult to recruit people, like, over there, especially, and it's like a Cleveland. It's like the things that happen in Cleveland. Like, I mean, it was difficult for LeBron to recruit in Cleveland. It's going to be difficult for, like, other people to recruit, but the Raptors, they do have they could get a lot of good players, and they're going to try to build around them, through drafting, things of that nature. So it's entirely plausible. I really do like that he is going to be the first option on the team. He 100% deserves it, and the contract, he definitely deserves it. I mean, leading your entire team in every single statistical category, from points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and all of them, that's like Wilt Chamberlain good. I mean, Wilt has done that before in several other games and in several seasons, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, that's also a LeBron type of stat line, where it's really difficult. It's incredibly difficult to lead your team in every single statistical category. Granted, his team wasn't that good, but it still takes a rare talent to be able to do that. And not many people, not many players in the history of basketball are actually able to do that. I mean, LeBron could probably do that. Victor Wembanyama, when he's done developing, definitely 100% can totally do that. And I have a feeling that Victor is going to do that for years to come. But yes, I think this is a great deal for the Raptors, and they already have their eyes set on a star. The difficult part's out of the way. Like, I'm trying to find that number one option. That's always the most difficult part. They got that out of the way. Now they have to get through step 2 and recruiting other players, or getting other players to help Scottie Barnes in their goal to try and win another championship. So that is all I have for you guys on this second segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the third segment, where we are, it's a crisis in New York. An absolute crisis. OG Anunoby has declined his player option, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about that in the third segment. And cry, yell, scream, throw up, all those emotions are going to happen on the podcast. So be sure to tune in right after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.